The House Judiciary Committee voted today to subpoena the full unredacted Mueller report along with the evidence gathered in the investigation, despite its full release being against DOJ rules that were approved by the Democrats because they didn't want the old law in place. Oh, the investigative counsel, remember the independent counsel rule. Joining us now, Congressman Devin Nunes, former chair and now the opposition minority leader on the House Intel Committee, Congressman Jim Jordan. You know, the independent counsel rule, let's see. Jerry Nadler was against the Ken Starr report, Jim, if I remember correctly. I'm just trying to remember here. They went after your partner, Devin Nunes, pretty hard
Sure did.
because he went to the White House. Now I see that the cowardly Schiff, who I've offered 4 hours of airtime to, won't come on. I want to know if they're the ones that changed the rules, and the Attorney General doesn't have to release anything, does he?
No, he doesn't, but understand the situation we're in. John Ratcliffe said it best today in committee. The Intelligence Committee Chair, Adam Schiff, wants the Attorney General of the United States to release classified information. The Judiciary Chair, Jerry Nadler, wants the Attorney General of the United States to release grand jury material. That's where we're at, because they are so focused on getting the president. Forget about the law that they helped change. Forget about the rule of law and how things are supposed to happen. They're all about getting the president, and that is a sad state of affairs, but that's exactly where we're at.
All right, let me ask you, Congressman Nunes, you have been saying that you have criminal referrals coming this week or next week. I think if we ever want to prevent this from happening again to any other president, the only way to make that happen is one way: hold those people accountable. How many people, how soon, how serious the referrals?
So you're exactly right, Sean. The American people need to have confidence in the FBI and the Department of Justice. So we are working on the referrals. There's going to be many of them. They're going to probably at least be a dozen, if not 24 individuals. And as we continue to get more information and build these and build them out, we want to make sure that everything is finished before we turn them in. But I will tell you, you're exactly right. There are people who definitely lied and misled Congress, okay? So if they don't go to prison, we're going to have a two-tier justice department, justice system in this country, and it's not going to be good for the American people.
I don't think it's good. I don't think a lot of this has been good for the American people. You know, the Democrats were fuming at you for jeopardizing sources and methods. And you know what, Congressman Nunes? Well, the Attorney General said he's not going to reveal sources and methods. Wow.
Yeah. Well,
and Adam Schiff, out of nowhere, tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist, liar in Congress, he says, no, I really got collusion this time.
Don't forget, when we wanted to make sure that we got Fusion GPS's bank records, this was the Clinton campaign arm that basically ran and got dirt from Russians. It was paid for by the Clinton campaign. The Democrats through the House said, oh, you can't do this. When we wanted to go out and say, look, we think there's FISA abuse, when we did our memo that went out to the American people that said, look, we're not going to disclose sources and methods, but the American people need to know what happened here, they opposed that. So the hypocrisy here knows no bounds. But with all that said, I think people should be very leery of only receiving what I call the Mueller dossier. Partisans wrote this document. What I'm interested in is not just to receive the Mueller dossier. I want all the information that fed into this, because I'm sure, just like in everything else that we've dealt with over the last 2 years, there's going to probably be a lot of fake innuendo in the Mueller dossier.
They're going to look for one line, phrase, sentence, and they'll just harp on it forever, even though very quickly, without even considering whether you can indict a sitting president, they said, no, you have to have intent for obstruction. There has to be a crime for obstruction. It doesn't matter. You know, well, Donald Trump said this is a witch hunt, or he fired James Comey. Comey said he could do it for any reason or no reason. All right, Doug Collins, your colleague, Freedom Caucus member, Jim, he's been very helpful in releasing these closed-door testimonies, but we're expecting a cascade of new information that we have all talked about. 302s, Gang of Eight, FISA applications. What else do we want, and when will we get it, and what will we see?
Well, a couple of things. Michael Horowitz's report, I think, will be good, and that should be coming sometime in the next few months. But to Devin's point and your point, if we want the truth, if Jerry Nadler wants the truth, then let's release the FISA application. Let's get the 302s. If Jerry Nadler wants the truth, call in Glenn Simpson. Bring him in an open hearing. Put him under oath. See if he takes the fifth like he did in front of our committee in a closed-door deposition. If they really want the truth, bring in John Huber. See what he's been up to for 10 months. He's supposed to be looking into this FISA application. And frankly, if they really want the truth and they don't want to jeopardize releasing classified and grand jury material, bring in Bob Mueller. Put him under oath. We can ask him all the questions we want.
Releasing grand jury information is illegal.
Right.
Well,
so bring in Bob Mueller and just ask him the questions.
What?
Exactly right. That's why I think we should just bring in Bob Mueller. We can ask him all the questions we want and not jeopardize that at all. And anything they want to ask the guy who was the special counsel, who they said for 22 months was going to find collusion, and he did it. It was not there, even though there were multiple opportunities for Trump associates to collude. The fruit was dangled in front of them, and they didn't take it. Bring Bob Mueller in. We'll ask him questions.
FBI concluded it. Devin Nunes, your committee concluded it. The bipartisan Senate committee said the same. Now the Mueller report. Whoever believes it at this point is a tinfoil hat psycho conspiracy theorist. This is insane what they put the country through. Thank you both. All right, joining us now to react to all of today's big news, holding people accountable, deep state, people that abuse power, and the biggest corruption scandal we've seen. Texas Senator Ted Cruz is with us. Senator, between the media and people that we entrust with the powerful tools of intelligence, to see that they rigged an investigation with Hillary, they lied and committed fraud before FISA courts, purposefully, we now know, because they were all warned about who paid for it. They omitted that, what Christopher Steele was all about, defeating Trump, and then bludgeoning the president, trying to undo a duly elected president the way they have. You're a constitutional scholar. You, I think, appreciate how severe this is for the country. How do we rectify this so it never happens again?
Well, let me say, first of all, this weekend was a very good weekend for the president, but even more fundamentally, it was a very good weekend for the country. We've had now 2 years of this special prosecutor investigation, and during the entire time, virtually every Democrat and all the media has been breathlessly covering every minute of it, insisting collusion, 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 collusion. Well, we now have the report from the special counsel. The special counsel concluded there was no evidence, zero evidence of collusion. That's a big deal. Not only that, but we also now know that both the Attorney General, Bill Barr, and the Deputy Attorney General, Rod Rosenstein, concluded that none of the evidence supports charges of obstruction of justice, which means everything the Democrats and media have been talking about for 2 years was lacking in a factual basis. And the entire media has egg on their face. And what are they doing now? They're not apologizing. They're not backtracking. They're not saying, gosh, our facts were wrong. Instead, they're attacking. We're seeing every Democrat pivot to say, oh, no, never mind about conclusion. Never mind about crimes or evidence. And mark my word, Sean, the House Democrats are going to impeach the president anyway, not because of any evidence, not because of any crimes, but because of the fact that he's Donald Trump and they hate Donald Trump. And it's showing just how extreme they are.
You know, you went up against a guy, Beto O'Rourke, as they call him. I have my own names for him. I won't drag you into my mess. But I got to tell you something. I've seen Benjamin Netanyahu as a Churchillian figure that was alone, the sole voice of moral clarity against modern evil in our time until Donald Trump got into office. And I see that O'Rourke literally went after Netanyahu as an ally of racists. And we know that Reuters covered the real story of your opponent for over a year. They made a deal with Beto to hurt you in that election and help him.
Well, listen, when it comes to media bias, the Reuters stories is truly a smoking gun. Back in 2017, they had evidence that Beto may have committed multiple felonies. The reporter interviewed Beto on the record, and he confirmed it. But then they cut a deal and said, OK, we won't report on it until after the 2018 election. Why? Because they want the Democrat to win. They wanted Beto to beat me. Now that Beto's running against Bernie and against all the other leftists, now Reuters will report it. And it's the media is in bed with the far left wing of the Democratic Party. But I'll tell you, this also reveals, I mean, you're talking about Prime Minister Netanyahu, who I know well and consider a friend, and Churchillian is exactly the right adjective for him. One of the things this reveals, listen, Beto's trying to appeal to the extreme left in the Democratic Party, and one of the ways you do that is by launching anti-Israel attacks. I was at the AIPAC conference this week. Not a single Democratic presidential candidate came to the conference. And we saw just a couple of weeks ago the House of Representatives couldn't pass a simple bill condemning anti-Semitism. Well, I'll tell you, Sean, I've introduced a resolution in the Senate condemning anti-Semitism. I think we need to take it up, and I think we need to put every senator on record. I hope the Democrats are willing to condemn anti-Semitism, the kind of comments these freshman House members are making, things like it's all about the Benjamins, which is nothing but an anti-Semitic trope. I also have legislation to formally recognize as a matter of statute the Golan Heights as part of Israel. This weekend, the president announced that he's going to do that. I've been urging him and the administration to do that for months. That is a tremendous victory for Israel and America, but we need to take up and pass my legislation to put in federal law that the Golan Heights is part of the nation of Israel.
All right, Senator, that's unfair, and if you're part of the media and you cover up for, that's a campaign contribution in a major way. Needs to be investigated.
Is there any universe in which Reuters would cut that deal for a Republican?
No.
Can you imagine Reuters doing that?
Of course. Good to see you, Senator. Thank you.